Hello, everybody. Welcome to our second Beatle pod. We're going to be taking a week off next week to start recording for season 2, so enjoy this episode extra. Listen to it twice. Little audio warning. There's a lot of exasperated screaming in this episode that kind of clips the mic out, so if you have headphones in, just be aware of that. And, as always, the Beatles are not for children, so I don't necessarily have to make this concession, but the Monkeys pod is definitely not for children, so viewer discretion is advised. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Beatles pod, a Beatles recap podcast. My name is Sommer.
I'm Lisa.
And I'm Molly.
Yes, once again, we are not monkey-pilled, we are very Beatle-pilled. Again. We're doing help today. Boy, do we need help to get through this movie. Our camera's crapping out. Our subject matter this week is bad. Mom, what was your first impression of Help? Because I know this is the first time you've seen it. And Molly, this is the first time you've seen it all the way through.
Yes, it is.
So what did you guys think?
All I was going to say is it's not really what I expected, being a really big fan of Hard Day's Night. I've seen Magical Mystery Tour. I've seen Yellow Submarine. I expected to be kind of more like Magical Mystery Tour and Yellow Submarine, being like, oh, it's just kind of some trippy, fun nonsense. And it is nonsense, but in the way that they didn't think they were making nonsense, which makes it worse.
Yeah.
I thought it was very long, and it was very reminiscent of a Monkeys episode, because there was just all these characters, and they were doing costumes, and things were not making any sense, and suddenly there were people there, and and you know, watching a half hour or a 20-minute Monkeys show of that is one thing. To watch an hour and a half of it is another. This was my first with Help, and it was when I watched Hard Day's Night. That was the first time I watched that. But I'm supposed to remind Sommer that we did show her as a small child.
I want to say I was like 4 years old. This is one of my first memories, by the way.
5 or 6, I think. My husband insisted that we show her Yellow Submarine because he remembered like loving the whatever meanies, the
blue meanies,
the blue meanies. I think I probably watched Yellow Submarine once or twice, but I didn't really remember any of it. And anyway, Sommer was scared.
It's kind
of
of creepy.
The show.
Okay, here's what I remember. Okay, because whenever my dad tells the story, he always says that I didn't like the Nowhere Man, Jeremy Hillary Boob, PhD, because he was very sad because he was a Nowhere Man. Mm-hmm. That's not true, because I watched Yellow Submarine as an adult, and I remembered I had a flashback to childhood when they're on the submarine, and when time starts like speeding up, and they do When I'm 64 because they all age rapidly. I was like, oh yeah. I thought they were gonna die. I thought they were gonna age into bones and dust before my very eyes, and that was too scary. And I said, nope, Dad, turn it off right now.
A lot of stuff in that movie is scary. I don't like the giant hand with the face.
The hand is really
scary.
The glove is so scary. And that comes before all that, so I'm surprised that didn't take me out. But
anyway,
yeah.
So that's the only experience I actually had with a Beatles movie.
I think we'll do Yellow Submarine and Magical Mystery Tour as little like mid-season precursors to Head once we finish season 2.
Okay.
Because they're a good setup for Head, the way that Help is a good setup for season 2. Because yes, much more than Hard Day's Night or even Head, this movie resembles a typical Monkey episode because it's in color and you have like weird racial villains and people running around and dropped threads and bad continuity and high boys.
Yeah.
So this is going to explain quite a bit about why this movie is the way it is. What happened between last year and this year? Because yes, it was only a year later. Well, on 28th of August, 1964, the future of rock and roll changed forever when Bob Dylan introduced the Beatles to cannabis. It has been reported that during the production of this movie, the Beatles were, quote, smoking weed for breakfast, every day. You can tell Paul literally hits the bong on camera in the credits sequence of this movie. There are other times where I'm like, yeah, that scene, they were running off to smoke. When they were in the ADR booth recording the noises for the scene, it was pretty obvious. The Beatles were kind of having a hard time at this time dealing with their unprecedented astronomical fame, so therefore they turned to substances to numb it all out. John especially, this is John's fat and depressed era. He has called it his fat Elvis era. By fat, yes, he's chunky for a John Lennon. He is not like fat. But,
yeah, this is before he became skinny and evil.
Yes, when he was fat and sad or skinny and evil. And by the way, people who are like, don't joke about that. That's my oomph Carlos, who makes those jokes on TikToks, and I love him. And leave Carlos alone, because he was fat and depressed, and then he was skinny and evil. Okay, and him being fat and depressed caused him to write the song "Help" as a cry for help.
Yes, this is the one that I had gotten confused, but he did write it very seriously about his troubling inner world, and they made this out of it.
Yeah, they said that would be a great song to represent you guys' mental state right now, and that would be a great thing to title this whole movie. This movie is a huge mess. Everything about it is a huge mess.
It screams help.
Yeah.
Did they write it? Who wrote it?
Okay, so here's the thing.
There's a script, apparently.
No, apparently there is. The director is Richard Lester again, although you wouldn't know it because there appears to be no director. The writers are different guys. They're Mark Bem and Charles Wood. Don't know what their deal is. I don't know. The thing about this is it's less focused. It's like trying to be a James Bond parody, but then like other things are happening.
Too much is happening.
Too much is happening. It's a very monkey episode.
Yeah.
Help was shot in a number of locations as well. It had a much higher budget, which is how it was able to be in color and shot in 7 different countries. The budget did not go into making the movie better, but it was shot in London, Salisbury Plain, which is next to Stonehenge, the Austrian Alps, New Providence Island, and Paradise Island in the Bahamas, and the studio at Twickenham. So they started in the Bahamas in February 23rd, 1965, and it finished filming on April 14th.
Oh yes, I do know about the filming in the Bahamas, that they did that in order to commit tax evasion.
They were around. They were going on vacations. They said they were making a movie, but they were going on a lot of vacations. Help had its royal world premiere at the London Pavilion Theatre in the West End on July 29th, 1965, in the presence of Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon, and the Earl of Snowdon. I hope she liked it. The movie starts, and immediately it's so much worse. Like where are we? What's happening?
It starts like with nothing resembling the
Who
Beatles.
are these people?
Like,
What is happening?
Help me. Help. Literally. Maybe it's called Help because that's what you want to say every second you are watching it. Where we are is in the underground lair of a, quote, Eastern cult. Because, unfortunately, this Beatle movie is a racist episode.
but
Monkey Chow Mein if it was a full movie.
Yeah.
They were just Eastern. That's
Yeah.
what they just kept calling them, Eastern. Did they ever name where they
A country? No. Like how the spies and the monkeys are foreign.
Right.
So here's the thing. Orientalism as a kind of like movement is not movement, but like phenomenon is the like flattening of Eastern cultures versus Western culture, Eastern into one kind of thing. And that goes, that's a lot of like Middle Eastern, India, kind of that area of the world, which was very mysterious to people at the time. In the 60s was kind of when we had like the first time of like Westerners approaching this culture with more understanding and more trying to like take away good things from it.
Right.
And like yoga and stuff was starting to integrate into culture, in large part because of the Beatles. But you have a lot of remnants where they're like, oh, everyone is in the exotic Orient is belly dancers in harems and like weird religions and cult sacrifices, and they're so brutal. But like it's not even they're not even saying a specific culture. It's like a region that they're kind of flattening into this thing. So an Eastern cult.
I kept calling them the foreign bad guys to differentiate them from the scientists.
Yeah. Right. I call them the cult. But also, much like a monkey episode, I named all the villains in this because I don't know their names. I've seen this movie like 4 times. I don't know any of the characters' names that are not Beatles. So I named them. Anyway, the cult in this first scene are doing a sacrifice of a young lady for their mother goddess Kahili. The white lady and the fat white guy who run the cult suddenly notice...
Who run the Eastern Club.
Suddenly notice that the young lady on their sacrifice table is not wearing the sacrificial ring. Hard cut to Ringo wearing the ring. Because she sent it to him because she's a Beatle maniac, but also she hates Ringo and wants him dead. This is never explained.
No, I think it was the woman...
No. The girl who was supposed to be sacrificed is a Beatle maniac.
Okay.
She sent her ring to Ringo as a present.
I thought that's what they said, but then I thought by the end that the sister, who was the white lady...
Let's name our villains now so we stop being confused. What I ended up naming them, the fat white guy, I named him Vinny because he seems like a mob boss to me. The girl, I named Darlene because I feel like that's a good name for her, nice 60s name. And then they have a little assistant who sometimes is relevant, and I named him Sylvester.
Okay. And then, but then they have swarms of people. Like, they have like another 30 people in their group. But anyway, I think Darlene is the sacrificial girl's sister.
She is, yes.
And she's the one who helps them escape the whole thing.
Yes.
So I think Darlene sent him the ring so that she wouldn't have the ring, so that they couldn't...
That's a nice theory. That's not... I don't think that was the intention.
Okay. I think the sacrifice girl sends it to him because she is a fan.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know what her intention is.
I'm saying this now. They don't even attempt to explain this until like 30 minutes later. It's just, this girl doesn't have the ring. Ringo has it. How did he get it? What? What's happening?
Some bird sent it to him.
Yeah, he says that in half an hour. Yeah. At the beginning, it's just this like cold open intro, like a Monkeys episode. And now we're watching, what is happening? What is happening? What is happening? The cult in their lair are watching the Help music video on their big projector and throwing darts at it. Yeah. Not quite sure.
It's like the first moment you realize you might be watching the right movie.
Yeah.
The boys look so much older. That's the only thing I want to say, the lads, than they did in last year. Yeah. Like, there is a big difference.
It's been a big year for them. They went through a lot.
They smoked
a lot. And fashion kind of changed a lot, too. Because now they all have terrible bowl cuts. Really, really bad.
Their hair is really, really rough.
Yeah. Ringo is the worst. George is also pretty bad. Paul looks fine. Why did the cult pull up the Beatle music video? How did they get this footage that was presumably filmed today? Because they say later that there's like a day-long time limit on the ring turnover thing. So presumably Ringo wearing this ring in this video is being filmed right now. Help! I need somebody
to explain any of this to me.
Help is, like we said, the song written by John, which they used as the title of the movie, because the original title was supposed to be called 8 Arms to Hold You, which is worse.
It's so much worse.
It sounds like the Beatles are an octopus. Yeah.
Octopus is good.
John has said about the song, the whole Beatles thing was just beyond comprehension. I was subconsciously crying out for help. I don't think it was subconscious.
Entitled your song that.
So Vinny and Darlene decide to fly to England to get the ring back. And we meet with the Beatles pulling up to their 4 apartments with color-coded doors that open into one large apartment, which is their Beatle pad. It's the Beatle pad.
The Beatle pad is crazy. If you thought the monkey pad was weird.
Yeah. They don't have Mr. Schneider. They have weirder shit in there. First of all their rooms are color-coded. So Ringo has a blue room. John's like inside of his room is brown, but his door and some of his like pajamas are red. Paul's is white because he is a heavenly angel, and George's is green.
But they're not even separate rooms.
No.
They're not even like walled off.
No.
They're just like sectioned off.
Yeah.
Just areas in the big room.
Yeah. Hard Day's Night had like surreal like jokes and flashes, but so much of like the world of Help is just nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to get your head around.
At this point, I've written, how did he get this ring?
Right. Because they don't tell you. They don't tell you. They don't care to explain that till later. I guess they're assuming you're going to be screaming over this and not paying attention to the plot, but then why is it so convoluted?
Right.
The decor of their wacky rooms. First, we see George has a lawn and a human man, a live-in servant, who mows the lawn for him with wind-up teeth. John has like a Scooby-Doo bookshelf with like tricks and like that like turns around and stuff, and a conversation pit for a bed. And he does some promo for his new book, A Spaniard in the Works, which is the sequel to In His Own Right, which I don't have, but as far as I know, it is more of the same of this nonsense. It's so good, John. Thanks. Ringo has like some vending machines in his wall, and Paul has
Get some bad sandwiches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they vend sandwiches.
Sandwiches.
The vending machine is run by live humans.
Yeah, sandwiches, orange juice, and whole oranges as well. Paul has an organ that rises out of the floor with a bunch of comic books on it that he plays. The Beatles pad, or the Beatles flat, perhaps,
Yeah.
since they're British. So Ringo goes to get a sandwich from his vending machine. He gets his hand stuck in the sandwich machine because clearly Darlene is back there trying to get his giant ring pop off. The ring, by the way, looks like a ring pop.
It's like,
It's huge and red.
and it looks like a ring pop.
Yeah. So Darlene bites him, and then he screams, but then immediately goes back to not giving a fuck and like not caring that there's a woman in his vending machine. Because the Beatles are so high that like the directors could not like get them to do anything or participate or
Apparently
like
they could barely see their lines.
yeah, have emotion, have the correct emotion. So for a lot of this, they seem very, very nonchalant in situations where they should be very chalant. And this is the first time you get like a real good close-up of Ringo, and you can really see how bad his hair is. He looks like the little lad. He looks like Dora. He looks like a mushroom. He looks like a medieval page boy. He looks like Davy Jones.
Looks like Davy Jones in his Velma.
Yeah, he looks like Davy
Velma,
Jones's
yeah,
Velma
Velma
wig.
wig.
The density of Help. There's so much to comment on because it's bad.
It just goes and goes and goes, though. I mean, it's just like...
Yeah, no, it keeps hitting you over the head. Much like Monkey's Chow Mein, it feels like you're getting bricks thrown at you every 5 minutes.
Well, the whole plot is they're trying to get this ring, but they try for an hour and a half to get this ring.
And then it just falls off.
But they try like all these different, like elaborate...
Yeah. Elaborate is a good word for everything about this. So after failing to infiltrate the sandwich machine, Darlene comes back to Vinny and Sylvester's cart, but her outfits are amazing.
Yes.
Her outfits are so cute.
Her outfit
She
here
does like monochromatic after a while,
Yeah.
like in pink. She's got like
Right.
Yeah, her,
everything
like, pink
pink.
suit.
Yeah.
So cute.
This first one, she's got a white cape with like a green satin lining. A lot of her clothes too have that kind of like Indian influence that because she's part of an Eastern cult.
Yes.
But then we would start to see that later in the decade infiltrate everyone's fashion, in large part because of a very funny situation, which is that on the set of this movie in the Indian restaurant scene, they had a sitar player. And George, being the non-racist, open-minded, culturally competent musician he is, said, that instrument is really cool and I want to learn it, and then went to study it with Ravi Shankar for months and months. It put it into their music, and as they were the nexus of culture, it ended up influencing all of culture. So then fashion did turn towards that way because of the racism of this movie, which is hilarious to me.
So racism led to diversity at the end of the day?
Question mark? Who knows?
Or to further cultural
Yes.
appropriation.
That night, The Beatles are asleep in their pad when a spooky purple light roves over them. And then one of those like grabby hand things operated by Darlene comes through the wall and tries to grab the haunted ring pup from Ringo.
Comes through the hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Where did this hole in the wall come from?
It's like one of his vending machines or something.
No, it's just a hole in the wall.
Well,
I don't know.
Maybe it was built to vend other things.
Yeah. She goes to grab it from Ringo, but he's sleeping upside down. And also, the ring is haunted and stuck on his hand.
Yes.
We have a good 1 minute of John's high ass dialing a phone incredibly slowly. Then Paul and George answer it. Yeah. And then that scene is over, and there was no point to it.
It was the wake-up call. They were calling him to wake. He was calling them to wake him up.
But it's night.
It's
I don't
morning
know.
now.
Okay. Their phones and pajamas are also color-coded to their rooms.
And they're all in one room, though. They're like, it's like
Well,
he's just right there.
Yeah, they like to be annoying. So now it's daytime. Paul's dressed. He's out on the street. Vinny in Dumbledore pajamas approaches him and offers him gold, not like in exchange for anything, just in general. And then Darlene goes up to Vinny and is like, no, that is the wrong beatle, because they're Eastern. It is not the beatle with the ring. But clearly she wishes it was, because she's a Paul girl. Right. So then Paul gets in the car. George and John also get in.
He goes up to everybody who gets out there, and he keeps trying.
Yeah.
But I don't think Ringo went.
No, Ringo's still at home. Vinny says all Beatles look the same, which they do, according to you.
Yes.
And then the villains chase them in their Harrods van to, like... Harrods.
That's a department store in London.
Yeah, I know. I just don't know how to pronounce it.
Harrods.
Yeah, Harrods. To, like, this, like, James Bond music. Why is this movie a James Bond parody?
I don't know.
Here's my thing with this. You know the Charlie XCX mockumentary, The Moment, that just came out?
I did not see it, but I'm aware.
Imagine that. So that's just kind of a movie about, like, a fictionalized version of Charlie's tour. What if she made a sequel to that was like a parody of Marvel movies? Like, I feel like that's
that's such a good comparison.
That's like the equivalent we're working with here.
What if Charlie XCX made this? A movie that made absolutely no sense, and she did not even need to be a musician in any capacity in order for the plot to this movie to ensue. Yeah, like, the fact that the Beatles are the Beatles has, like, no impact on the plot of this movie. Right. You don't even see, like, fans chasing them. Right, like, it's mentioned, it's like, oh, they're the Beatles, but, like, it's as much significance as the Monkees do to, like, any episode where they don't have to play instruments.
The Monkees, who are a band who never play.
Right.
Yeah.
They're very much, they're like the cartoon Beatles in this. That's what it gives. The title cards in this movie are so funny.
Yeah.
In the weeks that followed, 5 more attempts were made to steal the ring. Number 1, Ringo and John are in the elevator and they reflect on their loving relationship. Amelie says, "What was it that first attracted you to me?" Because they're in love. By Amelie, I mean Ringo, because that is how he looks. And then he gets magnetically stuck to the ceiling by his ring, and John, who is high, doesn't care and laughs at him. Number 2, they are walking down the street, John and Ringo, in the ADR booth saying like a poem or something that clearly is not like matching to their mouths. They were not saying that there on the day. They're just lip syncing random stuff. Ringo tries to put a letter in the letterbox, but Sylvester is in there.
He's in there.
All of their attempts to take the ring are just like, they don't realize that it's stuck to him. They just like hide as various objects.
Yeah, like how do they know where to hide all the time too?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
In the weeks that followed. Okay, so this is taking place over weeks. Don't they have like 24 hours since the first sacrifice? Because after 24 hours, the sacrifice passes to someone else?
Yeah, it's passed to him, and that's why they're trying to get the ring.
They really make the time constraint sound way more important later.
Right.
But they spend
But
weeks on
it's literally says in the weeks that followed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh.
Nobody checked continuity in the script.
No.
Number 3. Ringo tries one of those like weigh yourself machines, but it has a finger guillotine in it. Number 4. This one is this weird ass bathroom scene. Hoo boy. So the Beatles are in some sort of public bathroom. And then the hand dryer starts going crazy and sucking pieces of their shirts off while their high asses in the ADR booth make various weird moaning noises. They're like, oh, yeah, oh. And meanwhile, it like snatches the front of George's shirt off. and all the teen girls in the audience scream at how sexy they look. Thank you. And then Ringo, after it stops, goes, "There's more here than meets the eye." A caption comes up that says, "Everyone laughs at Ringo's sudden apprehension." And then it cuts to George and John, bored as hell, going, "Oh ho, ho, ho ho ho, ho, ho ho ho, ho." I don't know if this is these guys are high and they can't take direction or act or read emotion right now, or if they are just so checked out that they're intentionally being difficult. But it results in a beautiful performance. Number 5. The Beatles record "You're Gonna Lose That Girl" in the recording studio. It's our first song other than Help. So this is a pretty even split of John and Paul writing this song, and pretty much all of them singing it, but Ringo doesn't because they don't let him sing.
He does not sing.
So he's allowed to smoke in the recording booth
while
he is playing his drums. George is so coconut-headed. His bowl cut is so round, and he stares romantically into Paul's eyes. You know what I noticed this time while watching this? The monkeys touch each other so much. The Beatles don't touch each other.
They really don't.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
They touch each other when they have to, like, play fight. Other than that, like...
They're not super physically affectionate.
They're not. And I don't know if that's because they're British or if they're not truly in true polycule love like the monkeys. Who knows?
I guess not, but they were actual real-life friends for more of their career,
right.
So...
Yeah. Suddenly, while they're singing, a saw comes up through the floor like a cartoon and cuts a circle around Ringo's whole drum set, and he falls into the ground. Again, it's like a monkey episode in that it has cartoon logic. Downstairs, the villains all surround Ringo and prepare to saw his finger off. But then Darlene, who has suddenly decided to switch sides and be helpful to the Beatles, hits Vinny with a bowl and helps Ringo escape. The Beatles watch all this through the hole in the floor, and they don't care. And then I wrote, there's some stuff with the villains, but my eyes glaze over when I'm not seeing Beatles, and I have too many notes already. Seeking enlightenment as to rings, they approached the nearest Oriental. Lot going on with that caption. First of all, they call... this has been a topic of discussion on the internet lately, that British people call getting Chinese food having a Chinese... Which is terrible verbiage.
I've never heard that. That's an
having
interesting
a Chinese
one.
meal.
Well, yeah, no, but they just say,
"Oh my God, Chinese?"
Chinese, which sounds like they're having a Chinese person.
Having a Chinese.
But
why would you go with that?
Yeah, but this time they're having an Oriental, which appears to be like an Indian restaurant. And they decided that this is where they would go to learn about mystical rings.
This is to go to the first. Well, they go to the first Oriental.
Yeah, they go to the first place that anyone non-Western would be, which happens to be
this restaurant.
Because at the restaurant they know things.
Yeah. I said now the group chasing them is huge.
Well, it was the whole cult has come.
Yeah, there's like...
this is after attempt 5.
And they travel around in a clown Mr. Whippy truck.
Yeah.
It's a Mr. Whippy truck, but it's an ice cream truck. But I said it's like a clown cart because they all pile out of this truck. Like
the whole cult's in one Mr. Whippy truck. Ringo is very disappointed that everyone at the Oriental restaurant is British, except for the one guy in their basement who's like on a bed of nails. And of course he knows what's up with rings,
right.
because the Orient is a sinister and mysterious monoculture. And he's like, oh, that's the Ring of Kahili, you better watch out.
How did he know what this was?
Well, because, Mom, every single mystical Eastern person knows exactly what's up.
They know all the other
just
ones.
ask at any restaurant.
Right. Then the cult enters the restaurant and starts beating up the staff of the restaurant. Paul is too transfixed by a belly dancer to notice, which, can you dig it, nachos from head? Darlene has switched sides fully. She's decided to be helpful to the Beatles for some reason. So she tells Paul of the cult's plan. Her lovely, beautiful gown. It's like a pink sari, kind of. It's got like beading and draping and silk.
Why is she still with these guys? They have to know she's against them. Like, how are they not aware of the fact that she's the one who keeps tipping them off?
I'm not aware of too many things.
I guess they were just
Trying to comprehend this movie.
ignoring her, but like she full on.
Well, they're stupid.
She's full on betrayed them time and time again, and she's still traveling around with them.
I don't know. They go back and forth between like wanting to be sacrificed being like a good thing and a bad thing too. It's weird.
Yeah.
Also, at this point, one of the villains reveals that Ringo has to be red for the sacrifice to work. And then they say that they have 3 hours. Why do you now have 3 hours when it was like weeks and weeks? Oh, and I don't know. And I don't think it even ever matters. And it's also at this point that he reveals that he got the ring in a fan letter, which still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're a member of this cult, being sacrificed is a great honor.
Well,
so why would you want to give it to Ringo unless you want to honor him or unless you want Ringo dead because you're not a fan of him?
She didn't want to get sacrificed.
Well, she didn't want.
Well, maybe she thought it was a great honor, so she thought that Ringo like would be honored if he got the ring, and he was like,
Maybe.
"Oh no, Ringo can be sacrificed for this cult. I love him."
Maybe. Next, the nearest ring specialist. Ringo, like he doesn't care, says to the ring specialist, "You've got to get it off. I only have got 3 hours to live." But unfortunately, the ring breaks all of the jeweler's saws. Finally, undismayed, the nearest scientist. So they find the scientist, who is played by the sweater man from Hard Day's Night, and his assistant. Do you want to tell us about him?
His name is Algernon.
Algernon, yes.
Algernon. And he is the same actor who plays Veruca Salt's father in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
And it was very clearly, I saw him and I went, oh, there's somebody I know.
Yes.
And it took me like one beat and I went, Willy Wonka. And then next beat, that's Veruca's father.
Before he opened his nuts factory,
Yes,
he
nuts.
was
Don't give him more nuts.
a bean feast. Oh, one of those.
Oh, one of those.
This man is a great actor, and
He
I'm
is,
glad to see him
actually,
employed here.
I went and looked him up, and he was a very prolific character actor.
Yeah,
Yeah, finally they have some real
He was
stars
very
in these
good,
Beatles movies.
actually. He's a good actor.
yeah.
As
Before
opposed to everybody else.
his daughter won a chocolate contest, he was a scientist assistant too.
Yes.
I just want to point out Victor Spinetti's scientist character's name is Foot. Just Foot. Just Foot.
Awesome.
Great. So now that we have these scientists who are going to be with us for the rest of the movie.
So Foot now wants the ring.
Yes. Well, first they attempt to get it off by tying Ringo to a device, which, much like the colander head thing from the Frankenstein episode, is sure a device, and it makes Ringo's pants fall down. Thank you. But the ring is stuck on him, and now Dr. Foot wants the ring so he can rule the world because clearly it's powerful if it won't come off of Ringo. But
the machine was making noises that were reminiscent of Frankfurter's Rocky Horror.
Oh yes, Making Rocky.
I'm sure these machines all come from the same company.
There was a catalog.
Yeah.
Spooky sci-fi machines for your movie.
for your odd mid-century devices. Unfortunately, at this moment for the scientists, Darlene busts in her beautiful head-to-toe pink outfit, pink turban, pink boots, pink gloves, tiny pink gun, and she's holding the gun over her other arm like that, like she has to stabilize it as if it's not 2 inches long.
She's so cute.
Now that Darlene is on the Beatles side, they cheer her up by taking her back to the Beatle pad and serenading her along with George's gardener and his little flute. They play "You've Got to Hide Your Love Away" for her.
When this song started, I think I was already so done. I just said, "What?" out loud. Like, I didn't know where it came from. I love this song. It's one of my favorites on the album. But
Ringo is going to die in 3 hours, but we have to just, like, show Darlene that we can play this nice song, which is allegedly, people are like, oh, this song is about how Brian was gay, and like...
Yeah, which I've heard, and I don't know if I believe that.
Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a John song. He says that it exemplifies his Dylan period. It doesn't sound very Dylan to me, but...
Yeah, I mean, it resembles it a little bit, but not any more than other stuff that came out at the time. Also, I think, like, there's been, like, at least claims, like, oh, well, it's going to be about him and Cynthia hiding their relationship from the public. I'm like, no, because that didn't happen.
Right, no,
so,
everybody knew.
Yeah. So maybe it is Brian. Who's to say?
Who's to say? Maybe it's about McLennan. Maybe it's McLennan trutherism.
Maybe it is.
Yeah. So Darlene says that the girl who was supposed to be the sacrifice is her sister. Yeah. But now 3 hours have passed, so Ringo is the sacrifice. Except for that it was weeks. I don't know.
This is where I wrote, did she send the ring? See, that's
that would be a good theory if we knew anything about Darlene or her sister as characters, but they're not characters. They're I don't know what they are.
Okay. And the bad guy, the foreign bad guy, is hiding in the sewer. Like they just
Vinny is in the sewer. His hat is like a sewer.
They just keep showing these people like hiding different places, and it's just
there are foreigners in your walls. Is the message of this movie. Darlene shows the Beatles her new plan to get the ring off. She holds up a syringe and goes, "This will make your finger shrink." Oh, okay, sure. I don't know.
Sounds safe.
End of part 1. Intermission. The intermission consists of a 5-second sped up shot of the Beatles playing in a field. End of intermission. Part 2. Darlene's mom washes the red off of her sister at their house and scolds her Britishly for being out at all hours in all colours. End of part 2.
Part 2 is as long as the intermission.
Yeah. Part 3 later that evening. There are no other parts. What is happening? When did they do that in James Bond? What's going on? Help!
Help!
I need somebody! It appears to be about 30 seconds later that evening, by the way. Ringo's laying down ready to get jabbed. And Darlene is startled by the Colts outside and drops the shrinking syringe into Paul's thigh directly, which he doesn't care. And then she says, "This is a dreadful miscarriage." The exciting adventure of Paul on the floor. I can't even comment on it. It's just happening. Just things keep happening. The exciting adventure of Paul on the floor is quite exciting because Paul shrinks down to be tiny and naked.
Yes.
That's a lot of fetishes right there. So he hides behind a gum wrapper and an ashtray that's on the floor.
I believe this is the third example of random undressing that we see within the first 30 minutes of this film.
Yes. Very exciting for all the Beatlemaniacs to imagine, what if Paul was tiny and naked? Crazy. So then the Colton scientists converge on...
The scientists show up, yeah.
Yeah, on I almost said monkey pad, Beatles pad. And the Beatles fight them. And at one point during this fight, George starts choking out John, and then John goes, "No, it's me!" Ringo's method of fighting is that he karate chops at the air, and then Sylvester tries to throw paint on him to make him red. So he punches Sylvester in the dick.
I didn't get the red paint joke for another 40 minutes.
You're like, why are they keep trying to make him red?
Well, I was like, what's with the red paint?
He has to be red for the sacrifice to work.
I think it took till I was here before, and I'm like, the red paint.
Yeah, and then he starts shooting oranges out of his machine at him. Yeah. And when he finally gets the paint on him, he cries. So sad.
Paul hides in an ashtray.
Yeah.
And that gets full of, I thought it was coffee.
So did I.
But then he said he was sticky. So maybe it was orange juice. It was something that sprayed out of the machine.
I think it's coffee because Ringo has a lot of things in his machine. It's like a breakfast machine.
I thought it was, well, and when I looked at it a second time, I thought it was a coffee machine. But the only reason I changed it was because later on he goes, I'm sticky. I guess coffee would make you sticky.
So we've seen that the tiny compound works very well to make people tiny. Did they use all of it on Paul? Maybe they used all of it on Paul, and that's why he was all the way tiny. Because they don't try that again. What they do try is outrunning the Colt till the timer runs up on Ringo's ring, but then they don't they don't give us a time frame on that because they go to like 6 different countries before the time frame runs up. Yeah, it is at this point in the movie that we learn that the purpose of shooting this movie was for the Beatles to go on like 6 vacations. Meanwhile, seemingly safe in the sheltering Alps, we get the Ticket to Ride music video.
Is it in this music video that there's a part where Ringo doesn't have a drum set and he's just pretending to play the drums?
That might be here.
Because it's something I took note of, but I didn't remember what song it was in. But they're in a field, and the rest of them have instruments, and he is, like, either he has drumsticks or he's just miming, but he is just playing the air as if he has drums, and it's so sad.
That might be here.
Before we leave for the other countries, and before Paul comes back, Ringo pounds his foot on the floor, and they think
they think he squished Ringo.
They think he squished.
They think he squished Paul.
Yes, because the red paint is. They're like, is that Paul?
And they still don't care. Like the Beatles have no regards for each other's lives at any point during this movie.
Oh no, that was Paul.
Yeah. Ticket to Ride is a Lennon-McCartney song, although they disagree on who wrote how much. In 1980, John's shady ass said, Paul's contribution was the way Ringo played the drums. When I think of Ticket to Ride, all I think of is that video of Jack Schlossberg, like shirtless going, she's got a ticket to ride, and she don't care.
Yeah.
This is the best music video in this movie, I think, because this like the Help album cover comes from them in the scene where they all have their like different hats. Like George has his top hat. They kind of look like snowmen.
Well, they are playing in the snow.
Yeah. During the filming of this scene, reportedly, Paul kept running away to smoke more weed. So if he is unavailable at any point, that is why. They like roll down the hill. None of them can ski even a little.
Yeah, they start showing footage of people skiing. I'm like, that's not them.
Yeah.
But they do roll down the hill.
Yeah. Ringo has this little like snowman of like an animal or something that he like fights. They have a picnic on the snow, and then Ringo pours champagne all over their picnic, which is very rude. And also John appears to be eating a sandwich which is made out of 2 slices of bread and a whole uncut tomato. British food is so good. Then all the Beatles are on the sled together in what is called a Beatles sandwich, which is a real thing they used to do in Hamburg to keep warm, which is where they would all sleep in the same bed. Aww. And they are making fun noises in the ADR booth again. I have to assume they were hotboxing this ADR booth because the fun noises, they're like,
sure.
Ho, 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 ho. Meanwhile, the scientists and Colts continue their various attempts to catch Ringo.
He gets lassoed.
Yeah, he gets lassoed by the foot, and then they drop him. They're all really, really bad at catching Ringo. The Beatles go to play curling, but luckily George notices that the stone is in fact a fiendish thingy, by which I mean bomb, that the scientists made, and manages to save Ringo from this bomb. And then the Colt chase after them on skis in snowman disguises.
Yes,
Vinny accidentally wins a ski race while in snowman disguise, and in his celebratory marching band, the Beatles are there, part of it, celebrating him, which was very Shadow Realm, very Monkeys. And George takes a bite of his cymbal. Delicious.
What was that all about?
He got hungry, okay? Don't worry about it. That's his snack. At night on the Alps, Vinny attacks the Beatles with his flamethrower umbrella.
Why can it do that?
As they ski in the dark.
Yeah, it's night. It looks freezing. This guy has an umbrella that shoots fire.
It's not lit. They're skiing down the mountain in the dark, yes, and he takes his flamethrower umbrella
And that's what makes them decide to go to Scotland Yard for help.
Yeah. But they ski into the train station or wherever. They ski into a building with their poles on fire.
Cool, guys. How long have they been in the Alps? Because, don't they only have to avoid the cult for 24 hours till they're...
I thought it was only a day.
But then it was night when they're skiing.
Well, I thought they got there in the morning.
The timeline of this makes no sense.
No.
They go home. They go to Scotland Yard. And now we have this detective who's going to be a character.
Who can do a James Cagney.
Oh, yeah. He gets a phone call. It's for Ringo. John says, "It's them. It's only me and Paul know we're here." And then George goes, "I know we're here." This is foreshadowing of the way that McLennan would cut George out of the songwriting process during Get Back. And because they discounted him and they don't think he's one of them. Yeah, so the detective pretends to be Ringo because he's good at impressions. Because he can do a good James Cagney. Apparently, I guess this was everyone's thing to do a James Cagney.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the cult on the phone, using their hypnotic powers, by which I mean they play a sitar and they repeat, "Go to the window," slowly. They hypnotize the detective, and they try to make him red with bow and arrow paint balloon.
Well, because they think it's Ringo.
They think it's Ringo, so they try to make him red.
See, I'm like, again with the red paint. What's with the red paint?
They need to make him red.
I know, but I was just...
So there was a point, I watched this movie, over the course of a couple days.
Yeah.
And so I watched, half of it, and then I went back to it another day, and I was like, what is this about? What is going on? Could not remember anything. Couldn't remember why any of the characters were there, and it was only 2 days apart.
It's hard to follow. It's poorly written. It makes my head hurt.
Yes.
Ringo says, "We need protection. We've got a record to do tomorrow. Priorities." Also, tomorrow. Again, it's been more than 24 hours.
Yeah.
Why establish the time limit thing if you're never going to... I don't know. They never set up a magic system for how the cult ring sacrifice works. And then they act like it's of vital importance that they do something by some point with some color and some wearing of some ring. I don't know. Because it's so important they record their record tomorrow, they get the military protection of England.
Right.
So they go to a field next to Stonehenge with a bunch of tanks.
When they pan to Stonehenge, I'm like, when did we get here? Or are we at Stonehenge?
Well, because they went back to Scotland Yard, and everyone knows that Stonehenge is next to London.
Right. Yeah.
It's right there.
It's right there.
It is there.
So they record "I Need You," surrounded by tanks. "I Need You" is a George song. He wrote it for Patty. Great. I'm sure she appreciates it.
Especially the music video where they're at war?
Yeah, they're surrounded by tanks because the cult is chasing them. This was the first time a guitar pedal was used on a Beatles song. Fun fact. I love when they let George have his songs. Go, George, go. Also, I love Ringo's Scottish golf hat in this. Ringo's drum kit is set up in the grass, and one of his cymbals keeps flopping all over the place.
Oh my god, I wrote that. I was like, this cymbal is going to fly away.
Yeah, it was not stable. The cult is also there in army disguise. I don't know how they know where they're at all the time.
Yeah, and how do they know, and how are they not seen? They have an entire army surrounding them.
Well, because they're wearing disguises.
Because they're wearing
the face blindness.
Because they have some greenery.
Yeah, they have
on
some
their hat.
Yeah, they have some leaves strapped to their hat. Darlene is pretending to help the cult again.
Yeah.
I don't know why. To get another song in there, the Beatles record the night before.
Right.
They're still in the field. There's this POV shot where you are Paul's bass head. It's kind of cool. It's a Paul song, and it's the first Beatles song to feature electric piano. Paul and George both played the guitar solo, doubling each other in octaves. Interesting. To attempt to explode the Beatles, the cult sets off a bunch of TNT underground, and one of the boxes is labeled "equal to exactly 1/millionth of all the high explosive exploded in 1 week of the Second World War."
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Unfortunately, they put all this explosives in the wrong spot in the field because Darlene has tricked them with her radio.
Oh, by playing the radio.
Yeah.
Because they were under the ground.
Yeah.
So she's playing the radio, and that's what they hear.
See, the thing is, if this plan had worked and they had exploded the Beatles, surely they would not be able to find the ring after that. The ring is magical and indestructible, yes, but it would have flown off into like this field next to Stonehenge.
I think maybe the ring is how they're honing in on where they are all the time. Maybe there's some magic to the ring.
You have a lot of good theories about like things that would make this movie make more sense.
Trying to make sense of the movie does not make the movie better.
Yeah, like that would be great if that was what's happening, but I don't think it is. That would help.
I need to have some sense made of it.
No, I tried so many times. Like during this montage, I was like, maybe this whole movie is like anti-war, and it's like a statement. No, I don't think so.
No. Yeah, John falls in front of a tank that is being driven by, they think, the cult, and because he's fat and depressed, he almost lets himself get run over by it. But Darlene is in there, luckily, and she's back on their side. And then I wrote, there's some more stuff with the villains, but my eyes glaze over when I'm not seeing Beatles, and I have too many notes already.
Yeah, no, nothing important.
Yeah. The Beatles and Darlene go to a well-known palace to hide.
Well, they escaped because they drove through, they all got in the tank, they drove through a hay hut, and then they blew up the tank, and so they thought they got them, but they had all jumped off in the hay hut.
But they're continuing to chase them, so they don't think they got them.
No, they blow up the tank, and yes, they continue to. Well, they figure it out, I guess.
Anyway, now they're at Buckingham Palace. Yeah. You know, Paul was geeked to be at his crush's house.
You know, he was so excited.
Yeah, Paul was in love with the Queen. He wrote Her Majesty because he wanted to kiss on the Queen, so he was very happy to be at her house, I'm assuming. The Beatles are like hanging out playing cards, and John wants to cut Ringo's finger off.
Yeah, to get this over with.
Yeah, to get this over with. It's kind of interesting. They have this kind of like...
That was like, cut it off. Let's get this over with.
Yeah, I think John was kind of right, because no, truly, when you're putting your gang through this much peril, at what point do you cut off one of your fingers?
I think we all wanted it just
right.
And
but like, it's also kind of interesting because they're like, they have almost this like evil John characterization, which I think even back then, everyone knew John was kind of like a mean edgelord. Yeah. So it's interesting that they gave him this character beat. And then Paul kind of like agrees with him, which is the real tactic that Paul would do in real life. Was like, I've seen people talk about like the dynamic Paul and John had, where Paul would never be mean to someone directly, but he would use John as like his attack dog almost, and like kind of set him up to be mean to people he wanted someone to be mean to. So he would keep his own like reputation as like, oh, I'm just Paul, I'm just a cute one. The scientists drill through the wall of the palace and try to gas the Beatles. But the Beatles put the end of their hose out the window and gas all the Queen's guards. And they don't care that someone just tried to gas them. And then the scientists use some sort of time distortion device.
Relatively conducer laser.
Yeah. To momentarily capture the Beatles until...
I think they got that from the same catalog.
Yeah, probably. The scientists keep talking about how all their machines are crappy because they're American and they're not good British engineering. So I do think this is probably like the same factory that makes the computer from Monkey vs. Machine.
Yeah.
And then the power blows, but not the lights to the palace, just the power of the device. And as they're leaving, George goes, "Bad machine," like it's a dog. There followed one more fiendish attempt on poor Ringo's life. Thank God. The Beatles are walking around London with the detective and cops following at a middle distance instead of like hiding, which makes it very easy for the cult to almost make Ringo red with a booby-trapped bagpipe. So then the Beatles run away from their cop escort into a random pub, which also happens to be booby-trapped by the cult somehow, even though they didn't know they were going there. And they order at the bar 2 lagers and a lime and 2 lagers and a lime, but then they are served beers with no limes. Is this something I don't understand?
I don't know. They
just ran out of limes.
Yeah. I like that the Beatles are allowed to drink.
Yes.
They're free.
And they're British lads, so they have a pint. And they all try to make Ringo pay because they're haters. And then they like try to convince him to cut his finger off again. And Paul says to him, "Now you didn't miss your tonsils, did you?" this is a reference to the time that Ringo got his tonsils out, and it was a giant media event because everything the Beatles ever did was a giant media event. And they have this photo shoot of Ringo after he got out of the hospital, like showing, or like before he went, like opening his throat and showing the press his tonsils. It's a very funny photo shoot. Darlene tries to get their attention in the window, like by winking at them, and George goes, "I'm always getting winked at these days. Used to be you, didn't it, Paul?" Yeah, there's not really any like fans in this one. It's almost like they're not the Beatles.
They're almost not.
They're basically not. Ringo goes to pick up his beer, but it's stuck because it's a trapdoor lever, so George spills it into his lap and Ringo falls into the trap jar. This is like the third time that Ringo's fallen into a trapdoor.
He's fallen a whole floor.
Yeah. So he gets stuck in the pub basement with a helpfully labeled tiger.
It says tiger in case we didn't know what a tiger looked like.
Yep. So, yeah, and his friends abandon him alone with the tiger by jumping through the closed windows of the pub like the children from Weapons. But Darlene knows the secret to calm this tiger, which is that you have to sing it's a famous tiger, and the famous Beatles have to sing famous Beethoven's Ninths to calm the famous tiger. They say famous like 17 times. And then the whole pub and stadium start singing along.
Yeah, the whole...
The pub, and it has to a stadium. There's a stadium there. I'm sorry, this movie is melting my brain so bad that I'm starting to like just say jumbled up sentences, because that's how it makes me feel.
This movie is a jumbled up sentence.
Yeah. No resolution to this scene, by the way.
No.
Hard cut to the Beatles in Shadow Realm disguises in the airport ready to go to the Bahamas.
Because why not?
Yeah, because they need a nice sunny vacation. Paul's disguise is kind of Billy Shear's.
Yes, wait, I said that the Beatles disguises look like what they'll look like in about 2 years.
So Billy Shear's is the evil alternate universe version of Paul that replaced him because he's dead. Oh. But people cite this picture of Paul with like glasses and mustache to be Billy Shear's.
Okay.
And I'm guessing those are John's real glasses in his old man disguise, because I can see that they're like super thick. And John had really, really, really bad vision to the point where he was like legally blind without glasses. So I think those are just his real glasses, because they're round like that as well. So they arrive to the Bahamas. The cult arrives by blimp, and the scientists by raft. And the Beatles sing on some rocks. The song is Another Girl by Paul. They play around. None of them are dressed appropriate for the weather. Apparently it was like winter in the Bahamas, so they are actually pretty much dressed nicely. But it's not beachwear. They all have like long sleeves on.
And there's bunch of girls sitting around.
Yeah. There's a very famous shot where you can see that Paul has a much bigger ass than George. Paul is playing a bikini babe like she is a bass. Jane Asher should be allowed to kill him once per day. It is also at this point that George puts on the ballet flats that he is wearing for the rest of this movie for some reason.
Maybe he found the rocks slippery.
And he needed ballet flats
so he could dance around.
Yeah. So the Beatles, after their song, they say to the bikini babes, "Let's play a game." And then they all bend at a 45-degree angle and inch forward while going beep, 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 beep. I don't know what game that is. But then the villains converge, and like you were saying.
Yeah, they abandon the girls.
For they have got another girl. They don't care about them. Fortunately, Darlene is here in flowing green scarf. She looks great. She ushers the Beatles into the cult temple under the rock trap door because they moved the entire temple to the Bahamas for Ringo's sacrifice. Okay. And then they go into the well under the altar, which leads to the hotel pool.
And then they ride bikes.
Yeah, this is where the movie is starting to bash me over.
This is where the movie falls apart.
Like, we gotta end
that was a long time ago.
Know,
but like this is a point where like I'm like my brain is like offline at this point. Yeah, so the Beatles, they're riding their bikes running away, and then randomly they decide that they're done running away and they're going to face the cult, and they're like, we're gonna go get the cult, and then they turn back around. In order to entrap the Beatles, Sylvester, the cult assistant, has left a trail of fake red footprints with fake feet instead of doing it with real feet.
And he was hanging upside down. It was way too complicated.
It was convoluted. And then while the Beatles are following these footprints, Paul does a hilarious Native American impression. Thanks, Paul. The trail of footprints leads not to the temple, but to a random abandoned building. They go in anyway, and everyone except George gets caught in a cage like Scooby-Doo. Ringo falls through the floor again. And then
they couldn't come up with anything else.
And then the scientists get him, even though I thought this trap was set by the cult. They put him in a blanket like a baby. And then they put him in the trunk of their pink car. And then he screams help, like the name of the movie.
Yes.
Ballet flat Queen George jumps on the back of the actually moving car, and like the footage is like a little sped up, but they genuinely had him on there while they were driving for like a good while. And then the car stops, and George like sabotages the tire, and then gets in the trunk with Ringo and proceeds to continue to ride in the car till it breaks instead of not doing that.
Instead of just taking Ringo out of the car.
They wanted to ride, I guess.
You know what? I think they had to get closer to where they wanted to be.
Okay, sure. 4 feet closer before the car broke. The detective has a plan, which is to have the rest of the Beatles wear Ringo flesh masks and variously capture like 3 cult members each as they try to get them. But then the scientists just find and take the real Ringo immediately anyway.
Even though they said they couldn't tell them apart.
At this point, I was just like, "Oh, please,
just make it stop! Please make it stop! Please." See, the thing about this movie is that you're supposed to smoke weed first.
Okay.
I think. Once again, the plot point of the movie is that Ringo is missing and the Beatles are looking for him. So we get wide shots of the rest of the Beatles screaming for Ringo in various wide shot locations where he obviously isn't. George gets a little Tarzan with it. He beats on his chest. The scientists have Ringo tied up on a boat, like James Bond. Darlene comes in her black wetsuit and cape that goes with her wetsuit to save him. Luckily, she has more of the shrink juice. She finally found some. She says it is distilled from the essence of certain orchids. Okay. The scientists take it from her, and now that they have this new powerful object, they don't need the ring anymore. But they continue to be in the movie because the cult are in the water outside the boat. They capture the Beatles. They make Ringo red for real. And they get ready to do the sacrifice on the beach, despite the whole temple that they brought here. Okay. Since the movie is over, the ring falls off for no reason.
He hands it to the scientist.
No, Ringo puts it on Vinny. And then Vinny takes it off because it's no longer magic and sticky. And gives it to the scientists, who throw it away, and Sylvester puts it on?
I don't know.
I was
just happy it was over.
I don't know. They're playing the song Help again, because I do need somebody. Not just anybody. This film is respectfully dedicated to the memory of Mr. Elias Howe, who in 1846 invented the sewing machine. I'm sure he appreciates that, guys.
So that's what we were doing all this for.
I'm sure he appreciates.
What was that? Was that of any relevance?
No, it's just lol, so random.
The Beatles really were like, what even era of humor was that? Like 2010s humor?
Yeah, no,
like
they had the
it
random
was a thing.
Humor.
So random, so edgelord.
So she's so random. And then it goes to the credits, where the cast are seen in the reflections of the Jewel of the Ring, while the Beatles make high noises over classical music. And the credit for it's like, all songs by Lennon-McCartney. I Need You by George Harrison. And while that credit comes up in the background, George goes, I Need You by George Harrison. And there is one shot in this. It goes by really quick, and it's kind of hard to see. But if you slow it down, you literally see Paul hit the bong and then blow smoke out of his nose. Because that is the level of care that was happening on the set of this movie. This movie is bad and I hate it. And it hurts to watch. What happened?
It was painful.
What happened?
When I was reviewing it on Letterboxd, I didn't put any stars. I just put a heart because I was like, "Yep, love them, but I cannot rate this on a critical scale."
Yeah, no, you cannot rate this on like a human scale of art because it's not really. I don't know how to explain this.
No.
I don't know how to explain this. Help.
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 Beatles out.
Beatles out.
Beatles out.
Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed that episode of the Monkeys Pod. You can follow us on Instagram and the website formerly known as Twitter at MonkeysPod. This week I have for you my impression of Bob Dylan giving the Beatles weed. Hey guys, you want to try some of these reefer cigarettes? Of course, Bob, give it here. I'm Ringo and I'm gonna smoke this whole one because I don't know how the etiquette works, do I? We're so high. Stop, Charlie! This game is going on long enough. Bye!